Hey everyone, it's Jakov, and I'm back again today with another video for Total War The Dawnless Days. If you're a fan of Total War The Dawnless Days content, please make sure to give the channel a little bit of a look around, like and subscribe. I promise you will not be disappointed. Today's battle is going to be a clash between me and the PC. I'm going to be leading a tier 2 Erebor force against a tier 2 Goblin force. The point of today's video is to try and demonstrate what type of army you can be expected to field when playing as Erebor at that point in the game, and what type of enemies you could be expected to face off against. Today's map is the road into Morthond, and the scenario, at least in my head, is that a Erebor force was marching through this valley when it was beset upon by a force of goblins, with the dwarves deciding to take a bit of a defensive stance and try and take up position on top of this cusp of trees. Yeah, there we've got it. I'm going to put the battle into slow motion. We'll check out both armies and then we'll let the battle go, and we'll go from there. So yeah, putting the video into slow motion, or the battle into slow motion, we'll look at the Erebor force, and in their front lines we've got a couple of units of the Erebor axe throwers, which is a bronze tier unit. If you guys have seen the previous video that I made on Erebor, you'd know just how deadly and effective these guys can be when used correctly. However, these are the only range units that they've got today. Then behind them we've got the Dwarven warriors. They're tier 2 standard infantry, a bit more heavily armoured, quite a tough unit. Then moving on from them, we've got a couple of units of those guys providing their front line, and then behind them we've got two units of the Erebor axes, dwarves with two-handed and single-headed axes, clad all in armor. So another tier 2 unit, pretty effective shock infantry. We've got a couple of those. I decided to go for a fairly shock-oriented army because, again, Erebor dwarves, they do tend to like their axes and shock infantry. Then moving back, we've got their general unit, the Iron Guard, a heavy spear infantry unit, just designed to try and hold the line until the axes of the dwarves get into motion. And then next to them, we've got a unit of the Erebor halberdiers, a polearm unit, which is also designed to try and add a little bit of extra firepower to the army. Then finally, at the rear of the force, we've got a unit of the Escort Mercenaries, which are cavalrymen from Dale, an ally of Erebor, who serve alongside them. So this army is very much a it's limited in terms of ranged power, not having archers. However, it does have cavalry, which is something that isn't a luxury that many dwarven armies have. Then turning to the Goblin force on the other side of the valley, they've got the Night Raiders. They're tier 2 axe infantry, who are light infantry specifically, which means they're not quite as tough on the front lines as they can't hold a front line as easily as the Dwarven warriors, but they are very good on the offensive. Then we've got a couple of the bronze tier Goblin scrappers, a bit of a remnant of the previous force, or the previous video I should say, try and show you, the Goblins may go for heavier and heavier infantry as they go on, but they still sometimes field lesser troops. We've got a couple of units of these guys. Then for their general unit, they've got the High Chieftain's Guard, heavy swordsman, clad in old bronze armor. Then we've got the Mountain Pass Scouts, the first archer unit the faction has access to, and a fairly dangerous one, given that we've only got skirmishers with shorter range. And they've got a couple units of the Mountain Pass Scouts. Then over here they've got more Night Raiders using their stealth abilities and the tall grass. Then we've got the Underground Wardens, which are their light polearm infantry, who are the equivalent of the Goblin Spears, given that how small goblins are, a polearm for them is a spear, more or less. And more Goblin light infantry over here. And then on the other flank of their army, they've got a massed corps of Underground Wardens all marching in synchronization. Yeah, that's exactly what they've got. Anyways, we will skip ahead just because them marching for the next couple minutes to getting into position is going to be a bit boring, and we'll let the battle begin when the battle begins. So we'll see you there. And we will return to the battle with the Goblin army approaching the lines of Erebor. And just by looking at the numbers, yeah, the dwarves are outnumbered almost 3 to 1. So not the best situation to be in. But it's actually quite a good position for the Goblins to be in, given that in order to successfully assail a defensive position, you should try and hope to have an advantage of 3 to 1, more or less. The higher the better, so for example 4 to 1, 5 to 1 is even more preferable, but a minimum of 3 to 1 is a good rule. So up they approach, drawing up their lines, and as archers they've got the range advantage, something that the skirmishers can't really match. So down they come, trying to get ready to, you know, skirmish down the enemy archers, but this is a strategy that can leave you quite vulnerable. As a result, the Knight Raiders charge. The Erebor Exos get shot in the back, but luckily none of them die. And the Knight Raiders advance. However, only one unit is advancing, which is not a good idea. Just because if you're going to do a full advance, you should do it piecemeal, because it means your units can be picked off bit by bit. So even though Knight Raiders have caught them out and a couple are beginning to be killed, they are still following them unsupported, and this is a mistake you should try and avoid, because now they're going to clash directly into the Dwarven warriors. And you'll notice no other unit is coming here, which means the Dwarves can grind them down at their own leisure. And as you can tell, they're using their archers to try and pin us down. However, with how well defended these dwarves are, the archers aren't going to be doing that much. And also given they're slightly over the crest of the hill. And trying to get the shock infantry back here is a far harder proposition. And now the axe throwers are deploying, hitting the flanks a bit. Due to the steepness of the hill, they can't actually deploy around here, which is a blessing for the Erebor force, because it means the Goblins can't advance straight up this flank. They have to find a more suitable path to advance. And just looking at it, the Dwarves have lost 2 warriors here, and the Knight Raiders have lost over 100. Now they've lost over 100, but yeah. And still, they're just standing back, not doing anything. Their archers are using up a fair bit of ammunition, but even so, it's not doing that much. The Knight Raiders fall back, which is... oh, they're broken, but still. The Erebor axe throwers moving up, getting ready to begin the same skirmishing that they did before. And the Knight Raiders are advancing again, which is brave given they just recovered, but... and the axes go straight in. And for the most part bounce off them because they are fairly well armoured, but not all of them can survive literal axes being piffed at them. Still, they're manoeuvring their forces over here. They're actually going to advance. Archer fire still incoming. And they are broken yet again. The Dwarves advance to begin throwing even more axes. And these more lightly armoured Goblins can't withstand it as easily. You can see it's a little rain of axes. And They meet the axe throwers, the axe throwers fall back, suffering some casualties. But at this point, yeah, it's now or never, and the goblins are fully deployed. They've got a couple of units over here trying to scout around to get up. They've completely swarmed over this flank and have been engaged by the axe throwers and the Erebor axes. So, shock infantry on the hills. Just trying to buy time to keep this flank open so that the infantry at the front can grind down the enemy units. But now the cavalry deploy straight into their flank. And without any spearmen or polearms for support, these Knight Raiders and Goblin Light Infantry aren't going to last too long. The Erebor axe throwers are pulling back, having bought time. Already units are breaking in the front, just unable to grind down the Dwarven infantry. Like, there is a lot of these guys just grouping up, which is due to the terrain here, that they can't advance straight up and around. So, well, they can't go around the flanks, so they've got to go straight up. Over here, the light infantry is still getting hacked up by the escort mercenaries, who you can actually note are different from the horsemen of Dale, which is essentially the same unit, by their shield, which is Dwarven. And now them and a unit of the Erebor axes charge into the retreating goblins, which is something you should always endeavour to do. If you get a unit to break, make sure it shatters. Letting it break and then flee and then recover can doom you. It's happened to me many times before in battles. Especially if said unit is a counter to the strongest units you possess. In this case, polearms are quite deadly against cavalry, so it makes sense to pick them off as quickly as possible. Moving back to the... Oh wow, that's a fair bit of lag. Moving back to the front lines over here. Well, the Erebor axes are still going. These guys are running incredibly quickly. Like, wow, that's quick. Dwarves charging downhill, trying to catch them out. And again, now that they're out of formation, shock infantry can really do a number on them. Turning over here, they're still not really having any success. Just slowly being ground down. Although their general unit has deployed and has suffered some casualties. Over here, the cavalry and the axes have had their fun slaughtering the goblins, so they're getting ready to hit them from the rear. With jet hammer and anvil, such as what you want to do, specifically hitting counter units right in their back. Picking apart the enemy army piece by piece is the key to victory. And still, the Iron Guards are staying back because they're not needed. They're being kept in reserve. And also because, again, the maneuverability issues. A mass rout from the Goblin forces, although with how healthy these units are, they're probably going to recover. And the forces of the Dwarves more or less try to clear the hill. Seeing now that the Wardens have returned in strength, the horsemen aren't suddenly as powerful as they once were. But more of them break, the escort mercenaries follow them? No. I completely forgotten about this. A unit of axes are chased after a breaking unit, have slaughtered them, and now they're advancing from the flank. So you've got an army of angry dwarves getting ready, and who are about to crash into this unit of underground wardens, like their life depends on it. And suddenly the High Chieftain's Guard engage, so shock infantry versus enemy general unit. This could go either way. If the High Chieftain's Guard are broken by the Axemen, well, the battle's been won, or they're looking at the stats and the balance of power, I'd say it's getting more and more closer to an Erebor victory. But if the High Chieftain's Guard win, Erebor's lost a very powerful unit. That was in a very good position. But looking behind them, the army is routing even more so. And yeah, this is an issue. We'll see if we can get the best lighting possible for this fight. I guess that works as lighting, more or less. And here, there you can see just in the background, units going back, up, all over the hill. The Warden shatter, and the fight is still being grinded out by the axes, and not anymore it is, because they shattered the High Chieftain's Guard. And with him gone, his army's resistance to fight is gone, and there we have it, a heroic victory for the forces of Erebor. We're going to finish off the battle replay. We'll check out how the armies did in the screen to get a bit of a better idea of their performance. So looking at the Erebor force, only lost a couple hundred soldiers, came out of it with 3/4 of their army surviving, whereas the Goblins lost a good 5/6 of their army. Looking at the units individually, the Iron Guards barely saw any combat, got 26 kills. The Dwarven Warriors got 271 kills and barely took any casualties. The Dwarven Warriors got 503 kills and took barely any casualties. These two did amazingly. The Erebor Axes got 354 kills, suffered a fair bit of casualties, but still great. 348 kills by the Erebor Axes, still great, especially given this was the unit I think that was fighting the enemy general unit. The Erebor Halberdiers got 69 kills, didn't suffer any casualties, pretty good. 184 kills by the Skirmishers was pretty good. 41 by these guys isn't, it's a bit of a letdown, and then the Cavalry got 563 kills, which is amazing. So yeah, most of the army more than pulled its weight and came out of it heroes. Then turning to the Goblin force, 40 kills by the general unit, not much, especially given, like the quality of them compared to the Erebor units. Then the Goblin Light Infantry only got 7 kills combined, which is just atrocious. That's horrible. Then the Goblin Scrappers got 46 kills, which is more than I suspected they'd get, but that's fairly alright, all things considered. Then turning to the Night Raiders, they all did pretty poorly. The one getting the most was these guys getting 52 kills, that's pretty bad. Then turning to the Underground Wardens, 24 kills apiece was the highest they got, that's horrible. And then the Mountain Pass Scouts only got 4 and 9 kills each. So yeah, the Goblin force did very, very poorly in this battle. Which, like, they very much could have won had they played differently. Like, the defensive positions of Erebor certainly contributed to the victory, but it could have really gone either way. Well, anyways, guys, there we have it. This battle replay has been finished. If you guys did enjoy this battle replay, please make sure to like and subscribe. I know it might not seem like much to you, but such a small channel, it is massively appreciated. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs, and your guys' help is really everything. It's what we really need. Rest assured, there will be more videos similar to this coming up in the future. We've got a bunch of them being filmed right now as we speak, getting edited and so on. So yeah, there we have it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. This is your host, Jakov, signing out.